There are some moments in history that are like a hinge, where the future just swings onto a totally new path. Well, back in 490 BC, on a beach in Greece, one of those moments happened, the Battle of Marathon. This wasn't just two armies clashing. This was a fight that would literally define the course of Western civilization. And today, we're going to break down exactly how it all went down. Okay, so to really get the scale of what we're talking about, you just have to look at these numbers. The historian Herodotus tells us the invading Persian army lost something like 6,400 men, and the Athenians, just 192. I mean, this wasn't just a win. It was an absolutely staggering, lopsided rout. And right there, that's the central puzzle, isn't it? The Persian Empire was the undisputed superpower of its day. They had this massive, professional fighting force. The Athenians, they were just this small city-state. So how in the world did they pull this off? Well, the answer that historians have been debating for centuries really comes down to a critical missing piece. You see, the Persians had this incredible cavalry. They were their shock troops, perfect for a wide-open plain like Marathon. And yet, when the battle actually kicked off, they were nowhere to be found. Their absence is the key clue in this whole mystery. So to understand the battle, we first have to understand who was actually fighting. And this was way more than just a fight over land. It was a fundamental clash between two completely different ways of life. What's so fascinating here is just how different these two forces were. On one side, you have the Athenian hoplite. He's a citizen soldier decked out in heavy bronze armor, fighting shoulder to shoulder in this tight formation called a phalanx, like a human hedgehog. Then you have the Persian warrior. He's a subject of the king, lightly armored, and relies on a whole different strategy. Archers to soften you up, then infantry and cavalry to move in for the kill. And that difference in philosophy, it was everything. The Athenians weren't just fighting for territory, they were fighting to defend their homes and this radical new idea they had called democracy. For them, this was deeply personal. It was a fight for their very identity against the crushing might of an empire. So, with the stakes as high as they could possibly be, the Athenian leadership had to make this gut-wrenching decision. And they were totally split. Just picture the scene, right? You've got 10 generals, and each one gets a vote. Half of them are looking at this enormous Persian army and saying, this is suicide. We have to wait for the Spartans to get here. But the other half argued that any delay was a huge risk. That little window of opportunity, with the Persian cavalry mysteriously gone, it could slam shut at any moment. So the deciding vote fell to the commander-in-chief, a guy named Callimachus. And that's when one of the generals, Miltiades, makes this incredibly passionate plea, basically putting the entire fate of Athens on his shoulders. Well, Callimachus cast his vote to fight, and Miltiades was put in command. And his plan? It was audacious, it was risky, and it was absolutely brilliant. Miltiades knew the Persians always put their best, most elite troops right in the center of their line. So instead of meeting that strength head-on, he did the exact opposite. He intentionally made his own center weak, just a few rows of men deep. So here's the crucial four-step trap. First, you present that weak center as bait. Second, you stack your best guys on the outside, on the flanks. Third, you let the enemy's best soldiers charge forward thinking they're about to win. And fourth, once they're sucked in, bam! Your powerful wings swing in like a door and crush them from both sides. It's a classic pincer move, designed to turn the enemy's own charge into a total death trap. With the plan set, the Athenians got ready to do something that no Greek army had ever done before. They were about to launch one of the most legendary charges in all of military history. The gap separating the two armies was just huge. We're talking almost a full mile. Crossing that, probably under a sky black with arrows, would be tough for anyone, let alone a soldier bogged down by pounds and pounds of bronze armor. And then they started to run. Not march, run. The entire army. This was completely unheard of. Just imagine it, a wall of bronze and spears, thousands of men charging at a dead sprint across open ground. It must have been an absolutely terrifying sight. The Persians literally could not believe their eyes. To them, this was pure insanity. Here's this tiny army with no archers to give them cover, no cavalry to back them up, just running straight at them. They must have been getting ready for an easy slaughter, thinking this desperate, crazy attack would be crushed in minutes. But Miltiades' plan worked to perfection. The Persian center smashed right through the weak Greek line, just like he'd hoped. But then, those powerful Greek wings slammed into their flanks. Panic just ripped through the Persian lines. They broke and ran for their ships, but their escape was cut off by marshland. They were trapped between the charging Greeks and the swamp, and thousands were either cut down or drowned. The whole battle was over in just a few hours, but its impact? Well, its impact would echo for millennia, shaping not just the future of Greece, but really the entire world. Now, those 192 Athenians who died, they weren't taken back to the city for burial like usual. No, they were given this incredible, unique honor of being buried right there on the battlefield, in this huge mound called a tumulus, a permanent monument to the men who saved their city. And of course, this is where we get the legend that created a modern cultural icon. The story of the messenger, a guy sometimes called Miltiades, who supposedly ran the entire distance from the battlefield to Athens, about 26 miles, gasped out the words, "Rejoice, we conquer," and then collapsed, dead from exhaustion. And believe me, that legend has had some serious legs, which brings us to this pretty remarkable number. 1,300. That's roughly the number of marathon races held every single year, all across the globe. Just think about that. Every one of those races is a direct legacy of that one battle, a celebration of the endurance and the spirit of that day. Because in the end, marathon was so much more than a battle. It was proof of concept. It showed that a small group of free citizens fighting for an idea could actually beat a much bigger force fighting for a king. It saved the future of Athenian democracy, which then laid the groundwork for so much of our modern world. And it leaves you with this incredible thought. How different would everything be today if that one desperate charge had failed?